had to go to a store, maybe spend time like going through stuff, or drive to the next store, and drive all around, or go out of state. So I guess what I would bring to the show was like a crate with stuff, I would separate it into drums, like bass lines, things like that. I would have a turntable. So people could show up and just listen to stuff.
Okay.
And the other thing I was doing with people was, like, I would mail them a box of records, and then they would go through it and then send me money for what they kept and mail back, what they didn't want. It's a terrible business model. But it's surprisingly maybe one or two people, like, didn't, honor, like, weren't honest about it.
Yeah.
But like almost everyone just was cool about it.
Wow.
So
can you tell us of, like?
I was a terrible businessman. Like, I was in it more for my own, trying to get stuff for myself, I guess, and as a way to.
Yeah, you were looking out for what you like, but you also were able to help others discover sounds.
Yeah, I was trying to make a little money, but I wasn't trying to like screw people or anything.
Right.
So, and also it was really actually a lot of fun to like go through stuff and find things. And if I hadn't have found something, I'm sure it's not like it wouldn't have been discovered, by someone else. So, but yeah, it was just sort of like the place and time of it was, it worked out. Like, there was a dealer, one of the other main dealers at this record show. So the dealers would go around before the show opened. So a guy right across from him had this record, The Power of Zeus, which was like sort of a rock psychedelic record on like a Motown-ish affiliate label. But it had this really incredible drum break on it. And a lot of dealers there weren't doing samples, they weren't like focused or trying to be aware of what was going on. So some people knew this was a great record that people wanted. So this dealer saw this guy had it out for $10, and he goes, "I'll give you $8 for that." And the guy goes, "Oh, all right." So immediately he takes it like right across the aisle, puts it up on his wall for $100. And it's like, dude, you couldn't like just put it under the table or wait till like the next show. It's like you gotta rub this guy's. So like, I don't know. That to me is also not a good business strategy, because I'm sure that
sounds
guy
like it.
would never sell another record.
Can you tell us who's the biggest person that you've sold records to?
Do you mean like physically?
Like someone that
there were a couple of good-sized people.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I mean in terms of a well-known name.
Well, like at that show, at that time, like all the main New York hip hop producers were going around buying records there. So there were a lot of people like Q-Tip, Lord Finesse, Diamond D, Pete Rock,
that's sick.
Like Showbiz, the Beat Nuts, I'm sure of, not getting, Prince B also, I guess his record had just, multi-platinum. So this guy, and also like a lot of the producers at this time, like, were getting tons of money from record labels, and whatever they bought, they could write off as business expenses. So like, people would, Paul McCartney record with a beat on it, people were trying to charge like, $20-$30 for it. Like, at that time, you could find it at yard sales for, a couple of bucks or something. But at this time, so Prince B would walk around, and he had a couple of guys like following him, and he would just go up to crates and just like pull out like half the crate and just buy everything, because he had so much, so much money to burn at that time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like, just most of the, like, going back to your original question, like, most of the main hip-hop producers in New York at that time were hitting that show and buying stuff. And at that time, too, it was important to, like, keep everything on the down low, because people didn't want to see other people, because it was very competitive, too, like,
Right.
making beats at that time, so they didn't want anyone to see what they were buying, which is also why, like, they didn't mind you sending them a box and going through it. So.
What about when you mailed your records? Was there someone that you were like, man, this is crazy that I'm mailing these records to this person?
No, I mean, I mailed records to, like, Finesse, Q-Tip, Salam Remy.
And those people
was
paid
another
you?
guy.
I hope so.
Everyone paid me. There was one guy who didn't pay me, but then another guy who I dealt with, Todd Ray, T-Ray, was friends with this guy. He, like, advocated for me, and then the guy sent me money, and sent the records back. So.
Okay. That's awesome, man.
But that was like, oh, and another person also who bought records at the time was Danny Wood. Like, he would come over to the house, and, like, he was the New Kids on the Block guy.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he was trying to produce, but what I would do is, like, always send the best stuff to, like, the New York guys, and then he would come over and also just, like, buy just random boxes and go through stuff, so.
That's awesome.
But-
How did you go about to selecting, like, okay, I'm gonna send Q-Tip this, bulk of records? How did you go about in selecting?
I think if I recall, just, because I was always trying to look stuff up, or, dig stuff up, I should say. And, like, stuff that I would, discover that maybe wasn't known and sold by other dealers at the time. Usually when someone put out a record that had a sample, like, people would know what the sample was, and then everyone's trying to find that record. But, so, a lot of it was hit or miss, like, some stuff they would keep and some stuff they would send back.
And I guess, one question that I wanted to ask, so, obviously, if no one knows, but Lonnie is Bob's partner. They're very cool people, but I guess I'm curious to know, as you're collecting records, what type of conversations you both had to make. Obviously there has to be a point where you were like, I gotta stop.
Yeah, so when we ended up living together, like, it got to a point where, so Lolly was also into music and records, still is, I shouldn't say was, but she was at Emerson, with the radio station there, worked at Tower Records when it used to be on the corner of Newbury Street and Palm Ave. She was one of the original managers there. She worked at Strawberries, went back when that was his Kenmore Square. Very involved in, like, the early hardcore music scene, like when it was at galleries in Boston, and so was always a big music person too. I guess with me, it just got to be like, we had like a third floor in our place, and I had so many records up there that the floor was starting to.
Oh,
like,
okay. That's what you know.
a little bit, so, and we were having children, and, it was just, priorities, life and priorities, and adulthood coming to the picture, so.
Yeah. That's cool, though, man. That's totally understandable. I'm sure a lot of us probably are looking to create more space for our records.
Yeah.
And it's always like one of those things where, like, what do I get rid of and what do I keep? And then you end up keeping everything.
Yeah, I mean, I wish, like, in the one hand, I wish I had been able to just keep everything, or at least at the minimum, like, snap my fingers and have it all be digital and stored, digitally somehow.
Yeah.
And even the person, like, I sold the collection to Mike and Jody McFadden, who started, they were in San Francisco and did the Love and Hate label. They had a Brew Merchant store on 8th Street.
Okay.
I think they moved to LA at some point, but, they told me they would digitize a lot of the music and then send me copies, but that never, there wasn't really a contract, so,
Okay.
that never really happened, but, whatever.
Yeah.
There's plenty of digital music available, or just, it's easy to listen to music these days.
Yeah. So earlier you were telling me about how you've taken some of your records and created a digital version. Can you talk to us about, not about the process, but what influenced you to make that? Obviously you came from
well,
really.
I still love the music, and I, spend a lot of my free time, with, a laptop, and have all these playlists and go through stuff, and I still have a lot of vinyl. The thing I didn't sell was my, Christmas record collection.
Yes.
So I usually every year, I was, with the idea of making, mixes to distribute to people, or, lately I've been playing sets at places, holiday stuff, obscure stuff, that if you didn't understand the words, you would say, oh, that's good music,
Yeah.
I like that, so.
Why Christmas?
It's also a good, I'm not a Christian per se, but it's forced on you every year, and so I like to just have some alternative to what you are swamped with,
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, what the original question again?
I forget now, but I think this leads us to a good moment to open it up to the public. So if anyone has any questions, anything you're curious, now is the time to ask. Any of our DJs, vinyl collectors, you don't have to ask, so no pressure. We'll continue here. Okay, so, go, we got one question, all right, here we go. See if you can.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a really question. I'll start with a simple one, I guess. For you, this entire transition from going analog, having record stores and cities to an entire generation that is connected to that, how do you have experienced that change, or what's it stood out for you as a record collector?
I guess, back when it was so inundated, it was even just the music going from analog to digital. It was also the research at that, back in the day, it was, you couldn't look stuff up on Discogs or look for a price, or there wasn't a YouTube video of anything, so you had to drive places, bring a little turntable, listen to stuff. A lot of time was invested, and that was sort of, a negative-ish sort of thing, but the good thing was record stores didn't know, they couldn't look up all their records, so guys who were rock guys, I was fortunate to find, I didn't know what it was at the time, but in Northampton, Mass, there was a record store downstairs in Thorns Market where they had dollar records down below, and I found a copy of Stark Reality there for $1, and I didn't even know what it was at the time, but it looked like the right thing. But I guess it's a little bit of a getting off course here, but with the digital, there are good things about, as a fan of music, just being able to hear almost anything online without having to spend money for it, or you can just listen to so many things. So I don't know, it's tough. There's pros and cons, to the modern situation, if you will. But Yeah, and a lot of times I just feel really old because, like, even with, like, I was giving people, oh, here's a CD, you know, like, it's like, yeah, I have a CD player in my car, but it's like people will look at it and go, oh, yeah, I don't know what to do with this, you know? So even compiling, and even the way when I have vinyl and I want to digitize it, I have like an analog CD recorder. So I'm doing it in real time, like recording the song and then taking the CD and, you know, ripping it to a laptop. And that, you know, it's just not, you know, the most efficient way to do it. Like, I was wishing, like, someone would invent like a laser that was like the width of an LP, that you could spin a record one time and it would just analyze the grooves of the record and make a map of that, and then, you know, translate that into analog music
Whoa.
to digital. That,
Anybody out there who wants to invent that?
yeah. Well, yeah, please, like, you know, give me a little nod on that. I mean, I don't know if that's practical or not, but I don't know if I've answered your question yet, but yeah, if you have any more questions.
Yeah, if anyone else has any other questions?
So what's your top 5 records?
See, that is fluid all the time, you
Right.
know, like it really changes, like, so like I'll just, like, certain periods I'll be listening to different things, so, yeah, that's a tough call.
Do you have like a favorite artist?
Yeah, even that, like, it's more, I guess it's more like the genres than, so,
That's how deep you go, man.
yeah.
Well, really, if you could think of like the first 5 that pop in your head now.
Yeah,
Not to say that they're like the top 5 of your existence, you know, but just
yeah.
the first 5 you could think of that have an impact on you.
So like lately, well, one is Eric Carey, Bacalai Con Pan is like something I've been listening to. Like that's one song. I guess, yeah, well, on a certain playlist I've been doing lately, Let the Drums Speak by the Fatback Band. Let's see what else is on there.
Really put him on the line, man.
Yeah. Matata want to do my thing.
Two more.
I'm trying,
Take your time.
There's a Q-Tip song that this guy, DJ Bacon in Australia, did a version of where he put, took the vocals and put like this 70s African funk track behind it. That's really good.
Sounds nice.
And Antibalas, Che, Koe, there's a Makosa, Soul Makosa version of that. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm sorry, it's just, yeah.
No,
That's your 5 right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And lately I've been like, my head's been more in like a holiday music thing. I'm doing a thing like Sunday where I'm playing, all holiday music for 6 hours.
Got the Cheche Cooler right here, baby. For anybody who wants
Yeah.
to take a look at it. It's not for sale, sorry.
Any suggestion, any local store you will say that may carry Russ Shorty or Love Shorty? Never find it. I've never found it.
Found what?
The Russ Shorty records anywhere over here. The Love Shorty, the Soca.
So good.
Oh, yeah, I locally, I don't hit a lot of stores locally, like just, I don't actually go out and physically go to record stores that much these days, just, but, you know, when I was just young and single, it was like, you could just go on road trips and do stuff, and it was, you know, adventures, but You know, when you have family and and also it's just like, I'm not as motivated to like, there's not like the purpose of like, oh, I need to find all the stuff and then sell it and then get more stuff and then, you know. But yes, I'm not, like, as you said, like, with Soca stuff, I'm not a good person to ask that question to. There might be some place, but.
Oh, yes, Aaron?
Everyone, Mike?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So speaking of adventures, I heard you just tell a story about when you were surprised about something you discovered and inspired that you did not see coming your way, but that really lifted you up.
Well, I was friends with one of the owners of Looney Tunes, and he and a guy who used to work at Cheapo in Central Square, and I went to Rhode Island to Providence, and he knew of this guy there who sort of sold records on the side. And he was this old single guy, and we went to his place, and the whole place was just full of records, like in front of his oven, and his whole kitchen floor was covered with records. Everywhere in the place was just records, and he said he used to just go to yard sales and just buy all the records. And then he said, you're not allowed in the bedroom because that's where he keeps the records with like the sexy covers. And those weren't for sale. And but going through all this stuff, I found a copy of, there was a soundtrack called Hell's Bells, which has some good sample stuff on it. And at that time I didn't know what it was. I don't know if it was known at that time. So, you know, I got a copy of that, like this gospel record called Art Reynolds, that had a break on it. So he wouldn't sell, you know, it would be like $4 or $5 for records. So that was a, you know, humorous but also very successful digging trip.
Did you ever make it in the bedroom?
No, I didn't try. I mean, it depends. You could take that question.
Yeah, for the records, for the records.
No, we respected the boundary there.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes,
Yeah.
MJ.
So I know you've been to Jamaica. I know Eduardo's heading to China soon. And so, you know, in terms of physically traveling to places to dig, I'm
Yeah.
curious about what that's like. And I'm also curious about, you know, just when your tastes start expanding beyond American music and you start, you know, wondering what else is out there and exploring the rest of the globe.
Yeah. The trip to Jamaica, we found a guy who had a record store, but then when we got there, it was like he had a U-Haul trailer, and the whole U-Haul trailer was 45.
Wow.
The unfortunate thing was, like, all of them were just, like, so beat up that, I felt really bad because he also was like, oh man, come on, you gotta buy some of these, like he, was hurting, so, but the records, like, they were just like, someone had just taken an ice pick to them, and like, there were a lot of good reggae 45s, but, so I ended up, like, he also sold CD mixes, so just to, like, throw him some cash, like, I bought a few of those, but, yeah, in terms of international road trips, like, other than that, I haven't really gone, like, on any global sort of, when we were in Puerto Rico, in Old Havana, Old San Juan, there weren't record stores, but there were antique stores, and the antique stores had records, so you would go, like, I went to a bunch of them and dug around. Unfortunately, there a lot of them were very beat up. I think at this point in time, like, people have, like, pillaged the globe, like dealers from England or Japan or places have just gone everywhere and like bought a bunch of stuff. But you know, I did find some cool Puerto Rican Christmas records in one of the places. You know, like I don't think people give a shit that much about Christmas music. So in a way, it's good you can find some cool stuff. But you know, and then back like when we would do car road trips like all throughout New England, like you know, you would like get the yellow pages and you look up where are the record stores, and then you drive there and you know, you would, you know, maybe find some interesting stuff. But yeah, I don't know if that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was also curious, just even from your local area, like rhythmically, musically, you know, when maybe the funk beat of you know, Clyde Stubblefield, you get enough of that and you start looking for maybe some polyrhythms and some different Latin percussion. Like, can you talk about just how your taste changed to maybe more global?
Yeah, I guess it started out like, you know, I said like the James Brown funk stuff, then, you know, looking for breaks and beats. I guess with Latin stuff, like originally it was like the boogaloo sort of stuff from the 60s. I mean, I can't explain exactly why it happened, but just because the other music, it just resonated, I guess, and like, you know, you just are open to, you know, stuff that lifts your spirit, makes your body want to move, like what, you know, part of the joys of being a human is like, you know, that uplift, you know, the soulfulness of things. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a rational explanation for it. It's just what hits you and what sounds
That's
good.
good taste, man. I've heard Bob play at a bunch of places, and his records are always top notch. I mean, it's just like, it's incredible because you really get to hear a global sound. And it's very rare type of stuff. So, you know, that question is you know, it's a good question because, you know, you have a lot of rhythm.
I mean, I can't really, I mean, my ancestry is Poland and maybe Scandinavia, and it's like these cold, like desolate places that maybe just that, you know, you lack that sort of warmth, and I don't know what it is. It doesn't make sense in a way, but then maybe it does.
Yeah, that makes sense. You earlier you were talking about how you've kind of have really stopped, maybe not stopped, but not as frequent going to record shops and buying records. I myself have kind of gone through that change where I used to go to record shops, but now I really I'm so specific on what I want that I have to go to Discogs or anywhere online. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I guess that is the same with me. It's like I'm not just you know, like looking for random, you know, like my budget is not that big, and so like I would be more focused on specific things that, you know, I'm into a certain, you know, I might stumble across things or somebody's promoting something like on Instagram or, yeah, I just happen to hear something. So, and then how it fits into like if I am playing a certain type of stuff, like it doesn't fit into that. Like I have this one set that it's like an hour long, but there's like one like I think everything flows smoothly, but there's one point in it I'm still looking for a thing to plug in there to go from one thing to the other. And so, but yeah, I think Discogs is a good place.
Yeah.
To, if you're looking for very specific things and you know what you want, like to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
You know, one weird thing, like I don't know why I'm just thinking of this now, but like as a dealer at that show in New York back in the day, so you would get a lot of, you know, this is from a dealer perspective, So you have all these different people coming to the show, and like mainly people are looking, like they don't care who the artist is, they don't care what, you know, the cover looks like, what the record is, even maybe the price is not that big a deal to them. Like they're just like listening, can I use this as raw material? So then, you know, there would be people also who collected, you know, who were looking for like sweet soul or funk or, you know, more like collectors. And there was this one guy who used to go there, all he would buy is sealed records. And then he would just keep them sealed. So for him, it was like all about the physical object. You know, it's like, all I want is collect these things and just hang on to these things. And then like, that was one end of the spectrum.
Right.
And the other end is people who didn't care anything about the object itself. It was just the content, like what can I use this as material
Yeah.
for? So, and then there was, you know, like the spectrum in between, you know,
Right.
like, oh, I like this music, I like this song, but, you know, it was very interesting in terms of like how vinyl records could be regarded by people
It's
and
insane.
collectors.
Yeah, it's always surprising to me really how records, that spectrum is so wide, you know, and I think the most beautiful thing is that it just brings people together, like tonight and even at a record shop or at an open decks. It's a beautiful thing to still continue to have for so many years. DJ Misty, we have a question over here.
Yeah. So when it comes to looking for specific records, are there any online stores that you find yourself going back to?
Again, like I'm not, like the past several years I've been not like actively buying a lot of things, you know, here and there. Usually it's just Discogs, you know, looking for the best, like trying to keep it domestic, you know, the best values. Usually someone with a high rating, you know, like, but yeah, I guess not a specific online store that I can think of.
Aaron?
I just want to ask a question specific to music. You talk about James Brown, one of the early influences of you, and then you were liaising with all of these dealers that were digging for stuff to make beats to inform the future of hip hop, at least at that time. So I was wondering if you could just say, from in musical terms, what do you see as a relationship between funk music and hip hop or rap?
I mean, there are probably way more people more qualified to answer that question than me, but I think, you know, as an early, like to get the whole sampling thing started, that I think funk and was like a main, you know, entry to sampling. But in terms of just like music for, you know, not just partying, I guess, but you know, you have all the 70s music with funky music with like consciousness, social consciousness, and yeah. So I'm probably not answering your question very well.
No, it was. So there's what I appreciate you said, there's a music element, but then there's a content element as it relates to the lyrics and what they were speaking to at that time.
Yeah.
It's still relevant, even in time, further in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
You got a question in the back?
Yeah, you're good. So when I started first collecting, I would go in the store and I'd find it and I'd be like, sweet, I'd bring it home. I didn't care if it was scratched or anything. And then I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, where the Mike at the In Groove, I don't know if any of you guys know, he's like, makes all the YouTube stuff. Anyway, then he started being like, no, you need this pressing because it sounds the best. And then that like opened up a whole new door of collecting for me. When you were collecting, do you try to find the one that sounds the best, or are you just cool with finding that one
There's like, I guess there's a collective, like where you want the original, you know, like you don't want the reissue. I mean, at this point, I don't care about that stuff. Like, I just want a good sounding thing, like if I want to play something, you know. And, you know, preferably no skips or scratches. But,
Well, what's the difference between something that, you know, you're saying you found something that was being pressed by a specific?
Yeah, like, so, if you want this jazz record, like, and you have nice speakers at your house, it was a difference between, I guess DJing is first listening, because DJing, you could probably build a better catalog not caring about the pressing. I guess from a listening standpoint, with hi-fi gear, you kind of like want something to blow your socks off, so you want that pressing of this Miles Davis or this Marvin Gaye. It's like, it's a big difference between a shitty pressing and one that's really good.
yeah, I mean, I would definitely want a pressing that sounded good. This friend of mine who also, he was one of the original owners of Looney Tunes. He assembled this stereo system that was probably like $25,000. It was all like tube amplifiers, and he had this like throne chair that was like in the perfect position between the two speakers. And he would buy these records that were stereo, like I think there was a certain, back in the 50s and 60s, there was this incredible emphasis on the recording. It wasn't so much the content, but like a lot of it was classical music, but they would spend so much time miking all the instruments to create this like stereo effect when you were listening to it. And he was buying all these sorts of records. It's sort of tangential to what you're saying, but so, you know, you would sit in his chair and listen to the system, and if you shut your eyes, like, it just sounded like a live orchestra or a live band was right in front of you. But in a way, that's also not the most practical situation, because I find I listen to a lot of music when I'm driving or on headphones, you know, on a laptop. So I guess, you know, as long as it sounds, you know, like there's probably people who can debate, you know, how perfect you want the sound to be, but you sort of balance it with like the practical, like, you know, is this like gonna make people dance in a place like this? You know, it doesn't have to be, but I guess ultimately it'll come down to like what gives you pleasure, you know, like what makes you happy is the thing. So, again, I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
Anyone else? Okay, cool. I have a couple of more questions. Okay.
I was just, you know, if you were to put yourself at the beginning of your collect, any advice for beginner collectors, basically?
I guess, like at that time, I was just so over the top with, like, I would say, like, try to moderate yourself, like, because it's easy. I mean, it's like a drug addiction in a way, and
A good one.
it can, but, well, a drug addiction, yeah, it's a good one, because, you know, it doesn't have the, unless you're moving and you, like, hurt your back, like, it doesn't really have a physical consequence, but just try to, like, just concentrate on, like, the cream, like, the stuff that you really, really love, you know, like, try to go with that. And you know, I guess it depends. You know, if you're if you're a DJ and you know you need to have stuff for that, like then, you know, I guess just try to be in control of it and not let it control you, if that makes sense.
Cool. Very nice. So before we wrap it up.
Yeah, and don't let it block your kitchen stove and everything like that.
And if your floor is starting to sink,
Yeah,
well.
that as well.
So I guess you know, I know this is a very wide and you know open question, but you know, where do you see vinyl in the next 10 to 20 years? This is, you know, obviously with vinyl increasing over the last 5 years in terms of ownership, people buying records. I believe the last 2 years, record sales has sold compared to digital music. So, you know, where do you see vinyl record going next? We have listening bars, listening experiences.
No, it's good. Like, I think it's a really cool thing. Also, like, when I was working at the store back, like, late 80s, early 90s, CDs were just starting, and that was a really good time to be a vinyl collector because people were selling vinyl and quote-unquote switching to CD. And then the vinyl, aside from, you know, there was definitely still people doing the vinyl thing. By the time the early 2000s came, and that's when I sold my original collection, it was actually a really bad, again, I was a terrible businessman, because that was a really, like, in terms of a market, if you will, for collectible stuff, that was a down time. Like, I had trouble, you know, finding people to want to buy it. Well, because there was a lot of stuff and the price at that time. But if I had waited 10 years, like, you know, it would have worked out a lot better. But now, you know, things seem to be, you know, like nobody really gives a crap about CDs anymore. Like digital stuff, you know, people do downloads and that. But hopefully the vinyl stuff will keep, you know, getting bigger. It seems to be, you know, something that, I don't know, it's like, you can't, like, you know, back in the day, you could take an empty baggie and walk into a used record store, and you'd go to every gatefold LP and just like scrape the spine into your baggie. And by the time you went through the store, you could walk out with like some, not great weed in the bag, but you know, people used to use their records for like cleaning up their weed. But what it was, like the LP covers, you know, there's like the art of that, like the physical thing, like how cool it was compared to little CD things or digital. So, yeah, I mean, I am terrible at predicting the future, so I'm gonna say, like, I just hope that, you know, vinyl continues to, you know, continue on the trajectory it's on.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and so my last question to you, and this is out of curiosity, how did you get the nickname Boston?
So at that record show, at the Roosevelt Record Show.
Where is this?
In New York.
Okay.
So, yeah, this was the, I wish, if I had known, if I could go back in time, I would have brought, like, back then it would have been a VHS camcorder or something.
Yeah.
And because there was this huge hotel function room, and there were probably like 50 record dealers set up, and every single one had a little stereo system. So everyone was playing music really loud, so it was this cacophonous thing going on, and there was a dealer across the hall from me, like I had a regular spot. They were pretty much all regular dealers. He was Bob with the dreads. He was a New York guy who like would sell on the sidewalks and stuff. So to differentiate between the two Bobs, there was Bob with the dreads, and then I was known as Boston Bob because to tell the difference between the two. So that's where that name came from.
That's awesome. That's a dope story. And you could catch Boston Bob this Sunday at Vinyl Index from 1 to 6
1
p.m.
to 6, yeah. It's the Somerville Holiday Stroll at that time, and I'm just going to be in the store playing all holiday music for
This is the second, third year?
like maybe even more than
Even more than that.
fourth, I think.
Okay, that's pretty dope. I'm definitely gonna be there, so.
I did originally like right before COVID, and then COVID, you know, then after that, but yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, make sure to come through Somerville, Vinyl Index, this Sunday from 1 to 6. You can catch Boston Bob. He's gonna be playing some dope Christmas music, rare stuff that I'm telling you is gonna make you wanna dance and enjoy the Christmas holidays.
Word up!
So, so start your holidays the right way, baby. Boston Bob, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you making the time to sit with us and go through with us your experience. It's definitely something that is, inspiring and knowledgeable. And I hope that everybody gets goes home with a little bit of what we talked about. And again, thank you all for being here today. Our next HiFi, last HiFi for the year will be December 20th. DJ Misty is gonna be our guest selector. And so, thank you again. Please enjoy the rest of your night. There is art down the hall here by our guest artist Lonnie.
Yes,
Please check it
please
out.
check it out. There's
Yes.
a fine Eduardo portrait down there.
Yeah, if you
That's
just want
worth
to tell
the
me
price
which
of
one I
admission.
am. So thank you all. Please enjoy the rest of the tunes by DJ Lulu. And enjoy your rest of the night here at Coachella. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.